It's up to you on whether you want to.
Oh, I can push through, finish it, and if people have questions, if people care about investment, I'll talk about investment. If people care about getting sales and having customers
now, by the way.
Products. Oh yeah, no, I see. We're good. Yeah.
All
So basically, we picked. That's how we found pressure sores as our problem, and that problem really I knew because of my wheelchair background. It wasn't just older people. It was. Oh wait, my camera's off. It wasn't just older people, but it was also anyone with a disability. Pressure sores were a major problem. So if we want to jump to questions, if people are interested in hearing about customer discovery, how do you make MVPs? How do you fund it? What does investment look like? We've got some super cool stories, obviously, and crazy roller coaster things with getting investment and finding first customers and getting testimonials and scaling. But I'll answer whether it's SpaceX, that, or anything. Whatever people are interested in.
Yeah, you can request to join the stage if you'd like, and we'd love to give you a chance to just ask a face-to-face question to Tim if you have any questions. Otherwise, I do know there's one thing I have a question on, but I'll give people like 15 seconds to build up the courage to ask your question, hopefully.
Yeah, remember, I'm like not that much older than you guys. Like I currently am. I've probably employed like 4 of your guys' friends, so like it's all good. I'm not too scared of them. I don't think.
Hopefully not.
I haven't had to fire any of them, so that's good.
Oh, let's make sure they can hear us too.
Oh, you have 2 raised hands.
Oh, awesome. Where am I? Are you able to answer those? Because I'm not seeing any raised hands right now.
Ooh. I can send a message.
If you have a question, DM me really quickly, and I'll add you to the stage because I cannot see.
So Abby's on there.
Okay. I'm adding her right now. I'll add in Abby. Hello, Abby.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I did not know how to get onto the stage, but thanks so much. It's a very inspiring story that you had. It was interesting to see your name come up because my suite mate's actually working on a co-op with you this fall.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty cool coincidence. But my question is really more so related to like listening to your story. I've noticed how you're pretty good at selling your story and selling like yourself to whether it's getting into rows or getting like accepted to these do these opportunities. I'm curious, is that something that you've had ever since, or is that something that you had to learn? And if so, like how would you kind of tell other people how to do that and kind of like build up the courage of selling your story in a sense that hasn't happened yet?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually had some interns this summer ask me something similar, and the big thing with me was I got lucky and I kind of fell into the nonprofit. There was just a kid in my school who needed a wheelchair. I saw him struggling with his manual wheelchair, and I'm like, oh, this person clearly needs help, and I'm kind of learning engineering, so let me try to help him. And from there, that was something that was really unique and different from what the average student was doing. All my peers were like, I'm the president of student council, and I'm like, blah, 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 whatever, like head of this club that like they didn't create, they just went and got the role. And so what makes it way easier, what I found, is do something that's really different than what's normal. And it doesn't even need to be harder. Like I probably, with Freedom Chairs, my nonprofit, I put a lot of time into that. But a lot of the other things that I did that have really, because you got to build that story for it first before you can sell it. If you have the story, at that point, with the nonprofit, I had to tell the story because otherwise I wouldn't get funding. And in my head, I'm like, hey, these people aren't going to get wheelchairs. And so even though I was super introverted and I like hated talking to people, I was like, I have to do it because if I don't, then these people aren't going to get a wheelchair, and that's unacceptable because, that's just unacceptable. But for developing that story, I'm a big proponent of going and finding something that's just a little bit different than normal. Like go into Make It Happen or Maker Lab. Like still one person that's part of my startup. The number one thing he talks about in interviews, even though it was almost 10 years ago, was that as a sophomore, we took a bunch of old wheelchair parts and made the SPEV, which I think it's still around campus somewhere. It's like a barstool racer. We actually built the first unit of that in under 24 hours. Yet to this day, he has now been employed for like 4 years. And the number one thing on his resume, and the number one thing that always gets him his jobs, he talks about the barstool racer he built out of electric parts. Less than a day of work, and that's worth 100 times more than if he was like I was the president of student council. So do things that are unique, and then the story gets so easy to tell. But besides that, for me, I kind of got lucky and fell into something that was a decent story, and then that story forced me to learn how to sell it. Otherwise, my nonprofit was going to fail.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a great way to get people motivated here as well. Just because, like, I think most of us are introverts, maybe not, but a mix of those for sure. And I guess, did you have any mentors that helped you? That's the next.
A lot of mentors. So that's actually a really good point. For you guys, everyone who has like any level of success loves hearing their own voice. Everyone loves giving advice. So for you guys, every alumni is a great potential mentor. Now there's even mentor networks that are set up to make it even easier for you guys. But for homecoming, I would just walk around and then there'd be alumni that are just like would be kind of standing there doing nothing. I go and be like, "Hi, I'm Tim. Like, when did you graduate?" And then they'd be talking, and then I'd be like, I just ask them about their job and career. And they were so excited that some student was actually interested in what they did that, we kind of develop a connection. And I probably gained like a dozen mentors that way. And for the other thing too is with mentors, all you have to do is listen to their advice and show that you valued it enough to at least consider it. You don't even have to take their advice, but just when you ask for advice, follow up and be like, "Hey, I thought about what you said, a month ago, and I either did or didn't implement it, and here are the results. Thank you so much for that insight." You do that, you've got instant mentorship. And for you guys, you guys want Hatfield as a mentor, you want me as a mentor, any alumni you want as a mentor, really, like, any one of them would be happy to talk to you. All you have to do is reach out and ask some interesting questions and ask for their advice and actually listen to their advice. And you can build a mentor network really, really quickly.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. And definitely a plug for, I forget who my person is, but I was assigned a mentee 2 weeks ago and I still haven't heard from him. And I sent him an email. And so all he had to do was send one email and he would have had me I would have put hours of my time into helping him succeed however he wants, but he's just not taking the first step. It's so easy. That's what you guys are competing with. All you guys have to do is take that first step, take that jump, and show a little bit of initiative, and you guys can have any alumni as a mentor, and you should. That's how I got some of my jobs too.
Let me know their name after we're done. I'll make sure they get back.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I have a couple other of my interns from this last summer. I'm like, "Hey, you need to hunt this person down and find out why they're not responding."
Maybe they're on this call.
Who knows? I bet that's why I'm not gonna say the name, but I bet they reach out if they're on this call.
Yeah.
Because I'm still happy to mentor. I just haven't heard anything.
Okay. We're gonna switch to Garrett Hart now, and we'll replace Abby. See you, Abby. Thank you for your question.
Thanks so much, Abby.
Okay. Garrett, feel free to unmute.
Hello?
And you can turn your camera too if you'd like.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah.
Right, cool. I don't know how to turn on the camera, but this will do. So yeah, hi. I had a question about what the culture and what it was. You kind of hinted what it was like at SpaceX, but would you have continue that as a career, or if you wanted to? So I guess I'm personally interested in the space industry, and from what you've heard from other alumni, other connections, is it worth staying there, or are there maybe better avenues and better places?
Well, I actually stayed there for a about 4 years if you count my internship. And I recruited probably more Rose-Hulman students to SpaceX than anyone else. I was actually the only person to recruit from SpaceX to Rose-Hulman for 2 years. So obviously I'm a big supporter of, for certain students, SpaceX is an awesome place to work. For other students, it's not going to be right for them. It's all about fit there. And, you do have to work a lot of hours, but the work you're doing really is truly, for a large corporate company, it's the closest you're going to get at that size company to feeling like a startup and as an individual being able to really make an impact. Like, you go to GE, no matter how good you are, maybe when you turn 50 and become the CEO, if you're like the 1 in a million, like amazing person, maybe then you can actually have an impact on the world. But at SpaceX, even though you're one person, the amount of responsibility they'll give you is absolutely huge. And so if you're willing to put in the hours, and the hours vary, I would say the average between 60 and 70 for me, but there were times when I was well over 100. And the reason people typically work those is because the amount of responsibility you get and how much SpaceX is trying to change the world is so great that if you've got a wife and kids, you probably shouldn't go to SpaceX because you're going to be trading your time with them for SpaceX. But if you don't have a wife and kids and you're just graduating and you want to learn really, really fast, yeah, per hour, your pay will be worse at SpaceX. But at the end of the day, the stock's great and the learning is way more than what you're going to get at any company of that size. Like, you can go to a startup and learn more than SpaceX, but if you're uncomfortable with a startup, which a lot of people are, SpaceX is you're not going to learn more at any other company than SpaceX. And so if you don't have a lot of those commitments and you're the kind of person that is happy not getting paid for working an extra 30 hours a week because the learning is so great and what you're doing is so inspiring, you should go to SpaceX. If not, you're going to really hate it there and be very unhappy, and then you're going to have very negative things to say about it because it wasn't a good fit. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, that did. And then I also had a question, if you would be willing to, like, maybe after this, stay on for just like a more personalized. I had a question. My roommate and I are starting an actual rocketry team. So our second year on campus now, and even working towards a propulsion laboratory on campus. And so it kind of fits a lot with like startups and the kind of mentorship and like your charity and funding things that you did. And I'd kind of like to ask you some questions.
Sounds good. Yeah. Happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. So now we'll have Cole Patton join us. Hey, Cole, feel free to unmute and turn on your camera if you'd like. We cannot hear you yet. Hello, Cole.
Yeah, it says unmuted, but.
If anyone else has any questions, you can also raise your hand because we've got Cole and then anyone else. If not, I can actually ask a question. I do want to know about fundraising, and you can tell us about the big news as well. So if Cole comes back, he can ask his question as well. Yeah,
for sure. So fundraising, fun, not fun, but so for me, I just finished raising my seed round. We were super fortunate to be able to raise it extremely quickly because once we started selling product to customer, it turns out product's expensive to build, especially when it's a physical item. And so our runway shrank really quickly. So we needed to raise money fast. I definitely leaned on the Rose Network and my co-working space I'm actually at right now. That's why I have a cool background. It's an old skate park that's now a co-working space. And so the big thing for raising money is,
I think it has to work.
Oh, we got it. All right, I can answer your question if you want, or I'll just finish with the investment. So big thing with raising money is understanding how to make a proper ask. If you ask the wrong questions and have an out of range valuation or anything like that, it's like a deal breaker. Basically, with investment, you just have to your goal is to have no deal breakers, and then you might get something. But one deal breaker will kill pretty much every deal. The other thing is you want to aim for your lead first. You typically have the same terms for all of your investors in a round because the amount of paperwork and legal bills to make all those different term sheets is quite expensive. And so for me, I was fortunate. I was able to find a lead really early on, and then FOMO kicks in. Once you have the lead investor that says, here's the valuation and I'm getting in, and hey, there's only so much room, every other investor just dogpiled. And all of a sudden we went from 2 months and we can't get anyone to put $1 in to, oh, we're oversubscribed by double. And if we wanted to raise an extra like $500,000 to $1 million, we could have if we wanted, with no problems. Like investors were literally like, please take my money. Please take my money. I want to give you twice as much as what you say you want. And all it was I found my lead first. So find that right lead, cultivate the leads, really focus on that. Get a good deal that's market standard. Don't have any weird back of the napkin old contracts that are left in existence. We took all of our old crappy contracts from when we first started and we couldn't afford good lawyers or any lawyers. We made another new contract that our lawyer wrote that said all those contracts are null and void and here's the new one. And that made us super attractive because then we didn't have all these landmines that if anyone ever left and was disgruntled, they could use that old crappy contract to have all sorts of lawsuits. So making yourself look attractive by keeping your books clean, not doing anything that's like really dumb, and finding your lead first are the biggest things. And also there's a book by Brad Feld called Venture Deals. Definitely read it. I read it twice and it definitely saved me from, in this case, there were multiple times that because I read that book, I found things where my lawyer had missed things in our contract that probably wouldn't have been great 6 months down the line for us. And also it helped me understand what I should be valuing my company at and what kind of form of investment I should be taking based on my current size. So Venture Deals by Brad Feld. Forget all the other like how to fundraise books, throw them all away. I tried like 4 others. Venture Deals is the one.
Good to know.
Yeah, and if you have a specific question, you have my number. Hit me up. I'm happy to help you fundraise. In hindsight, I realized you could raise money for just an idea, not too hard. And I bootstrapped everything. And in hindsight, I would have just gone and raised like $200,000. And instead of paying people in equity, I would have just paid them moderate, like low salaries and a tiny bit of equity. And then I could have moved much more quickly and gotten my product to market faster. So if you want to learn how to, Jacob, hit me up. I can definitely help you if you want to raise some money.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. What's up? What's your question?
All right. Thanks for coming on, Tim. I really liked hearing about your stories. But one of the things I'm trying to do at Rose is use the Rose Squared program, get a master's in engineering management. Right now I'm taking the entrepreneurship class with Dr. James. And so a lot of what we talk about in class is how to grow a company and how to like launch new products. And so specifically on just how to kind of grow a company from maybe, like a startup into a larger company, especially like focusing on one individual product, how you might do that. That's kind of my first question.
Yeah, everything's about the need. So the first product we did, it was a cool product and SpaceX had the need, but then we had to really work hard to sell it to other people, which made it a heck of a lot less fun. So for finding the need first, there's one big mistake that at least I found myself making over and over that I've seen a lot of engineers do. Product before you've actually verified that it's, I've been disconnected. Can you guys hear me now? Sorry, there was a big storm. So my Wi-Fi went out for a second. So the biggest problem that I find engineers making is they solve a problem that doesn't exist or that doesn't have enough justification in the market to pay for that solution. So there's actually Dr. Klein helped me a lot with this. I was like, hey, we're trying to like refocus and what do we do? And he's like, hey, watch these videos from this guy, Steve Blankenship. And he's like, Steve Blank is like, goes by that sometimes, but he talks a lot about the business model generation book. And what he consistently does is he hammers in over and over, talk to your customers. You think you have a problem, you need to tell me that I have 50 people that say this is a problem. And then you need to find a shortcut way to get 10 of those people to pay you even $10 for your solution, even if you're losing money on it. And you basically have to fake it till you make it. Like get people to prove that there's market validation and people are willing to pay money for your idea, and then it's a big enough problem for that, and then you start chasing it. That's what we did the second time, and it went fast. Like we spent more time with the data recorder and had like 1 or 2 sales, and now with ours, we've spent less than 10 months on this product, yet we've got multiple customers whose lives we've already saved. We've got like 40, 50 grand in revenue, or at least close to it. Really quickly, we raised like a good amount of money that we're not disclosing publicly, but a very good amount of money. And all of that happened. The only thing that we changed was, instead of building the cool engineering thing, we went and found a problem that people were desperate to solve and verified that no one else had a good solution to it. And then we laser focused, made an MVP, had those customers test it, make another MVP, have more customers test it. Just do that over and over until you can take one of those MVPs and say, give me money for this one. And that's the point when someone says, I'll give you money for your MVP. That's when you know. And the day that someone told us that was when I'm like, all right, I'm all in. Like, let's go. And we've had those first people that took our really crappy, less than 2 months in existence company product and use it for 6-8 months. And we just upgraded them to new hardware, and they're still customers to this day. So biggest thing, find the right problem. And then once you find the problem, literally minimum viable product. Our first MVP we made in less than 24 hours. Our second one, while we all still had day jobs, and this thing had an app, a control box, and everything like that, we made in 6 days. Our third one we made in 3 to 4 weeks. And the third one was the one that sold, that we were able to get a customer to pay for. So literally the minimum advancement you can make, get customers to review it and give you feedback, incorporate all their feedback that makes sense, and just do that as rapidly as possible. And it's a numbers game. Eventually, you'll either find that your need is not worth solving and in a very cheap way, and then you can kill it off, or you find that people are willing to pay for it. And if you can get that sale that way, investment's so easy if you can prove that someone's willing to pay money for your idea. So that was a lot there. I can dive into detail and give specifics. If you have like specific ideas, I'm happy, Jacob has my contact information. I'm happy to help you game plan ways to do it.
That's awesome. Oh, there's people running, screaming floor dinner on my dorm by my hall. But yeah, no, it's awesome to hear. Especially like one of our more recent assignments in the actual entrepreneurship class is pretty much going over that. But like hearing it from you, I mean, it's awesome. Because you hear that in the class and you have to see it to really believe it. Like on a deeper level. But that's really awesome to hear. And then my second question. Like as a freshman, as an electrical engineer major, what could someone like me do to get an internship just in this year where I'm at right now?
Super easy. The question I'd answered earlier, find just something unique you can build. So like it can be something stupid and off the wall, and the more out there and kind of clever it is, sometimes the better. So just come up with some, either if you can find a real problem and you can get someone to pay you, even if you lose money on it, to develop some real solution. Like for example, Mike Wojcik, who just graduated, and he was the former president of the Maker Lab. He's making these things that mount on little, I call them the poor man's Peloton bike. It's an off-brand like cycling bike. And then people that want to do the same thing as the $2,000 bikes buy these cheap ones and then they modify them. So it's a 3D printed part that we have someone here at our incubator. Mike designed that in probably 2 to 3 hours, maybe 4. And it's now getting sold on Etsy and is going to probably do thousands. We expect thousands of dollars worth of revenue from it. Mike put a couple hours into that. He was the one that found the need. The need came to him through someone I work with at my co-working space. But I just said, hey, there's this problem. I don't have time to design it. I'm trying to run my company, but you got plenty of free time. Just do it. And if you can find the right problem, or you can just find something that's not, mechanical, because he's just mechanical, and then go sell it, and then carry that item with you to the career fair, you're golden. I actually, the SPEV, the electric vehicle I told you guys about, I drove that through the career fair. Didn't ask for permission. Did not ask for permission. Just did it. And I have pictures with 15 different company recruiters sitting on it with me. I took a picture with all of them. And then when I'd follow up for a job review, I sent their picture to them hey, just wanted to send you this photo because you look so good on this. Hey, how's it going? By the way, I also attached my resume if you lost it for some reason. Every one of them were like, please work for me. Please, dear God. And we built that thing in like less than 24 hours. Now, granted, there was some iterations, but just like go build something stupid and cool, and it can be off the wall. And if it's demoable visually, if it's visually attractive in any way, that's great. Like I won a pitch competition once. A buddy of mine made a little smartwatch with a Raspberry Pi that looked obnoxious, but it was great that it looked obnoxious because I went in the pitch competition and I like played it up. And then even though other people were pitching real companies and I was pitching this stupid, not real thing, like it's not stupid, it's really cool. But yeah, I did less than an Apple Watch, but it was like this big. And I won the pitch competition because it was just so out there that people are like, oh, that's just interesting. And I haven't seen anything that weird in a while. Like, yeah, so just build something, take it with you to career fair. If you need ideas, I have an old list somewhere in my Google Drive of random stupid crap I want to build one day.
That's awesome. I always love building things, but I did not think
use
about
the Maker Lab. There's so much old like failed projects that you can probably take enough parts from them to build something cool. The SPEV actually needs a new motor controller. One of my employees designed one that just needs like a daughter board or something on it. I'm an ME, so don't judge me. I probably said it wrong, or I'm probably don't actually understand it. But he designed a new motor controller board, and the only reason that SPEV isn't running on campus is because someone just needs to carry it forward, and he doesn't have time because I make my workers work really hard. Our startup, there's no time for him to do it now. But he has a board, a PCB made. It just needs populated and then needs another component, like another board added to it somehow.
We actually did get it running.
Wait, you did? But this one's with a custom board, a custom motor controller that wouldn't keep burning up and give you a lot more power.
Nice. Yeah, I had a friend from Olin live with me for a few weeks. And
he got it running?
Sorry, say that again?
They got it running?
Yeah, we went to the Maker Lab and we were like, let's like get this thing running. And so we got it running.
Okay, that's amazing. See, now I would give Jacob a job because he got the SPEV running. So I'm personally invested in that.
You gotta give my friend the job. He did all the electrical. I just helped strap the batteries in.
There we go. But go to the Maker Lab, hit up Nate, and I always, when I ran the Maker Lab, had so many cool projects that I didn't have time for, and people come to me and say, I just don't have an idea. And I'd be like, hey, here's all the crap, just go build this. And then, they would take it, use it as their resume. And no one cares about a paper resume when you're carrying around a crazy smartwatch.
That's awesome to hear. Is there a way I could reach out to you about any crazy stuff?
Jacob has my information. You can add me on LinkedIn. I'm generally pretty responsive depending on, whether it's a really good or really bad week with the startup. I might go a week and ghost you, but then I pretty much always get back to you eventually.
That's awesome.
Sure.
Thank you so much for your time.
Well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to see your project. I'll be there at homecoming too, and I always go and spend a lot of time at the BIC. So yeah, I'd love to see anybody that. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there from like Thursday to Sunday. So.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll remove you from the stage, Cole. Thank you everyone for coming. It looks like we're over time. I'm guessing you've got things to do.
Oh yeah, we have a company party in like a half hour because our sales this week have gone up by like 400 or 500% or something. Like over last month, like this week we've sold a lot. So,
nice.
So we're gonna go party here soon. But I got a little more time for if anyone had any last questions.
Yeah, it looks like the session is going to be ending. I think if people do have questions, what I recommend is I'll close off this speaker session. And if you are still interested, you can join a table and then just kind of everyone will be visible and we'll be able to speak. I did have one last question about that. Do you attribute like all the change in sales to like the media coverage from the investment, or is there something else that really
we were still in stealth mode and only selling locally in Brevard. And so whenever we found out that the little bit of publicity was going to come out, we threw together a really crappy website in less than a week while still doing the rest of the company stuff. And somehow the right person must have seen the article. We only had like one sentence about our product, but then it like went viral in a couple of Facebook groups for people with disabilities. And they're like, oh, finally someone solved our need. And because we solved such an acute problem, even though everything else sucked and looked like, like Chinesium, like our website's so bad that you're like, this is probably not a real product. Because it was such a big problem, So
Okay.
I'm just,
Yeah, it looks like session's about to end in 5 seconds, so I'll end it. Feel free to join if you have time.